Here we are again, the world of Zelda, where we will look at a number of crazy myths and claims. For example, do the Guardians have a specific weak spot? Can you steal Inos Horse in Ocarina of Time? Can the fierce deity be grabbed by a Gypto? And what happens if you keep killing Stell children in Ocarina of Time? Well, today we will look at all of this and more. So, let's jump right in. Anytime I make one of these videos and look at the comments afterwards, I see some crazy ideas, and to be honest, I love to cover them. So to start off, we will try to crush some people, because this commenter asked me if you can flatten NPCs in Echoes of Wisdom using an echo you can summon. Well, I had no idea whether this was possible, so I booted up the game, went to Hyrule Ranch, where you can find loads of people, and try to kill them. But I quickly noticed that this isn't possible. The platform that would squish them despawns right before hitting. So yeah, clearly this stuff doesn't work at all. The game prevents it from happening, which means that this claim is false. We all know by now that the Cuco is the most fearsome creature in the Zelda universe. Nothing can defeat them. I mean, even Ganondorf would lose that fight. That's why you still see them around in timelines where evil has won. Now usually, Link is the only one who will suffer once these chickens become mad. But, according to Story Master, this isn't the case in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. This commenter said that you can damage a Cuco just enough and throw it at an enemy in the hopes that he will hit the Cuco, and then they will attack him and not you. This way you can kill enemies using these Hylian chickens. But, is this really possible? Well, after some messing around in the modern Switch titles, I can say yes with 100% certainty. As you can see, these Cucos are a perfect weapon and can even kill quite powerful enemies in no time. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. Every attack does a low amount of damage, but if you get hit over and over, you're screwed. So yeah, this works, and it's also surprisingly effective. Now, even though Ocarina of Time is 1,000,000 years old at this point, people are still finding new things in this game. And of course, a lot of these new findings, claims and myths end up in the comment section of my videos, which is pretty neat. Recently, I even came across one that surprised me a bit, because Pere said that you can push the Moblins found in the Sacred Forest Meadow in water, but they won't drown and will continue to attack you if you come into range, which sounded crazy, but is this real? Well, I went to the forest and gave this a shot, but I noticed something interesting. When I tried to trick one of these Moblins, he couldn't run into the water. There was some sort of invisible barrier preventing him from going further, but in the end, I found a way around it by making the Moblin hit a wall, and so he fell into the water. And yeah, he was stuck there without drowning. So clearly, the claim is true. Even though Nintendo tried to prevent this from happening, it's still possible, and they didn't program a drown animation for this enemy. Development oversights are everywhere in Nintendo games. You can find enemies out of bounds, small bugs, and even stuff that can break the game. And over the years, I have seen many of these. But recently I saw a comment that mentioned a small developer mistake that I had never seen before. Story Master claimed that enemies and pigs will fall out of the sky when the game transitions from day to night in the Wind Waker. They will literally fall down onto the overworld from the sky, which is pretty crazy. Now I will be honest, I've never heard of this or seen it in-game, because in the end, I never really used the Song of Passing, which allows you to switch from day to night and vice versa. So I decided to play the song to see what happens. First, I did it in front of this pig, but as you can see, nothing really happened, which made me a bit skeptical. But I also had to try this with Moblins, of course. So I went out to sea to find a couple of them to see what would happen. And here I did see the enemies drop from the sky, which means that the claim is true. And I even fell through certain objects when playing the song. Clearly, it's a big game breaker. As a big Majora's Mask fan, I think that the Fierce Deity is the most badass form we have ever seen. I mean, Link is literally an all-powerful warrior god. It doesn't get any better than this. But there is one downside. You can rarely use this form in-game. Only if you use cheats you can turn into this form anywhere. And I did this in some of my older videos to show stuff off. And after seeing this, Ben claimed that the Gyptos can actually grab you in this form, even though you would normally never come across them. them, and as a Goron, you're immune to them. So can they actually grab you? Well, I went to Ikana Canyon, activated the cheat so I could become the fierce deity, and confronted the Gyptos that are circling the music box house. Once I did this, I immediately saw that they were able to grab me, and the game didn't break or anything. Sure, it looked a bit weird, but hey, it's possible. So, this claim is true. Now, a couple of minutes ago, I mentioned that Cuos are invincible creatures that could destroy almost any foe, no matter how powerful they are. But then I saw a claim in the comments that shocked me, because according to Zero, they can be killed in one of the games. In Link's Awakening, you can incinerate them with the fire rod. But does that really work? Or will you just piss them off, forcing you to deal with their wrath? Well, I decided to see if this works in the 2019 Link's Awakening remake. I mean, I had that game on hand after all, but when I tried this, I saw that the Cuos were immune, and at some point they even became angry, which wasn't a lot of fun. However, when I looked into the original version, I could see that you can kill them there. So it depends on the version, which means that this claim is true, but only in the OG. Now, when the most recent Zelda title came out, I quite liked it, but from what I can see online, a lot of fans didn't even play it, which is a shame because Echoes of Wisdom is certainly one of the better 2D titles in the franchise. But we will still feature the game in this video because some of you asked me to test certain things seen in the game. Doodle, for example, claimed that the Moa, these things, can actually survive underwater, even though they aren't water enemies. So I decided to test this by swimming into the water and summoning a bunch of them. And as you can see, it works. They thrive underwater. So Doodle's claim is true. Now, as most of you know, if you become a member, then you're at the top of my list, and you will always be featured in a video. And today we will look at something that Julian Lanning suggested a while back. Apparently, there's a hidden room that I never found inside of Ganon's castle. He said that there's a hidden room underneath the small stone bridge, filled with fairies and 4 business scrubs. But you can only see the entrance with the lens of truth. Now this could be super useful, so I decided to check it out. And yeah, as you can see, there is an entrance here, and inside you will find loads of resources that are worth their weight in gold when taking on all the challenges seen in Ganon's castle. So next time I go through this place, I know where to go when I need stuff, because usually I went back to Kakariko Village for arrows and other items. Now, one thing I never understood as a child was the poor man from Windfall Island who all of a sudden becomes rich once you save his daughter. But in recent years, I found out that they became super wealthy due to the daughter's relationship with the Moblin Mo. But apparently, there's another connection that I missed, because Zelda Mania said that if you talk to the poor man after he gets rich and show him the Cabana deed, he will have some special dialogue. So I went to him and did just that. However, I was kind of disappointed. He just roasted me for showing it off. Now, I'm not sure if this was the secret dialogue that Zelda Mania was talking about, but it isn't much. So I would say that this claim is false. You don't learn anything new, and it's very similar to other bits of flavor text in the game, but less interesting. Originally, I wanted to cover a claim from a channel member called Little Fox Gamer, but sadly enough, doing this is gonna be hard, and I couldn't find much. But still, I wanted to give this lovely human being a shout out. And instead of looking at this Shadow Beast glitch, we will look at Excalibur's claim. He said that you can turn into a human inside of Giovanni's house. You know, the rich guy who was cursed by Pose? All you need to do is position yourself correctly, and then Midna will allow you to transform back. So I went in there, stood in the right spot, and surprisingly enough, I was able to become a human again. And it's clear that Nintendo never kept this in mind, because Giovanni still calls you Doggy, and as soon as you leave through the door, you pop up where Wolf Link would when exiting. So sure, the door works, but Nintendo still puts you where you're supposed to be. Clearly, this was some sort of mistake on Nintendo's end, but as you can see, the claim is 100% true. One thing people are obsessed with in the more recent Switch titles is talking to people without clothes on. I mean, this is the first game where you can actually confront different NPCs without anything on, and so people did this with almost everyone. And this commenter said that if you talk to Purah without any clothes on, you will get some unique dialogue. So of course I booted up Tears of the Kingdom after a million years and spoke to her. Now at first, all seemed fine, but then near the end, she says, "By the way, where are your clothes. You got a lot of people who look up to you, so while I appreciate you exercising your freedom, maybe show a little restraint. So yeah, she does point it out, and even asks you to put something on, but in a very respectful manner, which means that this claim is true. Now, those of you that pay attention saw that Julian suggested another thing that I should try in Ocarina of Time. A secret grotto that can be found in the Sacred Forest Meadow right before you go to the Forest Temple. He said that if you play the Song of Storms, a hole will open in the corner. So I did just that to see what would happen. Now, as you can see, he was right, but in the end, not much can be found here. Only 2 business scrubs selling potions. So while it is true, I would never really visit this place because there's no reason to do it. In the end, I would rather hold fairies in my bottles. Now, when I went through Echoes of Wisdom, there was always one move that I never really used, the Twirl. But according to many folks online, this is one of Zelda's best and most useful attacks. Lil Mouse from the comments even said that you can parry the rocks that Octorok shoot at you using this Twirl. So I decided to do it in the game. And as you can see, you don't take any damage and the rock even breaks. To be honest, I should have used this ability more when playing through the game. So I guess I will keep this in mind for the next time. In one of my older videos, I tried my best to find different kinds of soup in Twilight Princess, because while Yeto's soup is great, there must be more out there, right? Well, we found out that the soup in Link's house is useless. But what about the soup found in Faron Woods? Because Elliot said that you can get soup from this guy's pot. All you need to do is light the flame and scoop some in a bottle. But its effects aren't great. It has a random effect and usually damages you instead of healing. Now, this sounded super interesting, so I tried to get some. When I lit the flame underneath, I saw a small cutscene, which was a good sign, but when I tried to put it in a bottle, I failed. Even after talking to the lamp oil salesman, I could do nothing. So as far as I can see, this claim isn't real whatsoever. Once you finally go to the future in Ocarina of Time, you will notice that a lot has changed. Hyrule Castle is a mess, the castle itself has become a dark fortress, and Kakariko Village is kind of thriving, weirdly enough. However, when you go to Lon Lon Ranch, you will notice that evil has taken over, and Link can actually reverse the damage pretty quickly. But in order to do so, he has to beat Ingo in a race. Now, this is a rather simple task, and after doing so, you can use Epona anywhere. But is this the only horse you can use? Because Karu wondered, can you steal Ingo's horse in Ocarina of Time instead of Epona? Well, I had never tried to interact with the other horses, so I tried it. Now, it took me a while to finally find a good save file because everyone immediately saves Epona. But luckily enough, Thinkifer was able to help. So I booted up the 3DS version of the game, went to the ranch, and tried to use Ingo's horse, which is actually possible. Now, as far as I noticed, riding this horse isn't any different from Epona. But hey, clearly you could do it. One of my favorite things in Twilight Princess is the Postman who will randomly appear throughout the game to deliver you mail. And each time he comes around a corner, it looks super goofy, which I just love. But Sararos said that he can also be found in the Cave of Ordeals. This is a place where you take on a number of enemies in small arenas, and it goes on for quite a long time, becoming harder with each room. However, on the second run, you can actually encounter the Postman right before you get to the end. But is he really there? Well, yeah. As you can see, he is here for some reason, and we have no idea how he got so far, because this place is filled with monsters and other powerful foes. But it's clear that he's looking for something, and there are actually loads of places where you can find him, studying letters, trying to find something. To be honest, it might be fun to look into all of this, so maybe I will do a video on that. But aside from that, this claim is clearly true. Now, sometimes Nintendo is a bit lazy, and there are a couple of enemies in older Zelda titles that are practically the same. For example, a Gwei and a Keese aren't that different, and the same goes for a Gypto and Redid. However, according to Kleb, they are actually the same, because if you use a fire attack on them and burn away the bandages, you will see that there's a Redid underneath. So I went to Ikana Canyon, shot a couple of Gyptos with fire arrows to reveal their true form, and as you can see, they really are just Redids, which makes sense because their attack is also the same. So this claim is true, but it's also pretty well known. One thing I started missing quite quickly in Tears of the Kingdom were the Guardians. Without them, the world was so empty. But I will admit, as soon as you realize that targeting the legs is super effective, they become much less threatening. However, Story Master said that the circular space underneath the Guardian is the ultimate weak spot, taking care of it in no time. But does that really work? Well, yes, both their eye and this circle at the bottom are weak spots of this mechanical beast. So next time you take them on, be sure to target their legs, eye, and circle underneath, because that's the fastest way to take them out. Now overall, I'm a bit of a Majora's Mask expert. I've played through the game many times over the years. However, every time I make a video like this, people will mention things in the comments that I have never heard about, which shows that you're never too old to learn. And recently Dino told me that you can create a weird fog effect in the game using the Zora Mask. All you do is put on the mask, use the special electrical shield ability, and then you quickly take the mask off. If you do this fast enough, the effect from the electrical shield will still be present. Well, to an extent at least. So I did just that to see if anything would happen. And yeah, it works. But not as well as I originally thought. Which means that this claim is true, but in a lot of places it doesn't work too well. And it's a bit hard to see. So yeah, neat, but not too interesting. Now for our last claim, we will look at a classic, something I have seen before but never really attempted myself. As we all know, Hyrule Field is a dangerous place at night because loads of stealth children will spawn and attack you. However, this isn't all. They will become bigger as you kill more of them. But how far can you push this? Because JJ Gone Insane said that there's no limit. So if you use cheats to prevent the sun from rising, they will only get bigger as you keep killing them. So I did just that to see how big I could make one of these stealth children, and as you can see, they kept getting bigger and bigger. Now after doing this for a good while, I was able to create a massive stealth child. He was so big that he could even rival Captain Kita. It even became incredibly hard to hit him because he was so high up, forcing me to resort to using the boomerang so I could stun the monster and land a hit. But as you can see, this claim is true, and you can push all of this pretty far as well. Now those were all the myths we had for this video, but don't worry, I made more videos like these that you can check out right now. Aside from that, be sure to leave your ideas in the comments below, and if you're a member like our lovely Julian Lanning, then you're at the top of my list. But before you go, don't forget, leave a like and subscribe so you won't miss any future videos.